All right, real briefly, I want to talk about social distancing. It's some fucking bullshit. All right? And I'm going to tell you just real briefly how this plays out. First of all, we already know that coronavirus is not super deadly. It's only deadly to a small portion of the population. And I get it. We don't want people to die. And we certainly don't want to infect our loved ones and shit like that. But at the same time, where was all this consideration every year before this with the flu? Or anything else? Because I've just never seen anything like this. It has a slightly higher death rate, but slightly higher is very fucking important. See, when Trump says things, he gets taken, I don't even think he gets taken out of context. I think that the left just pisses on what he says on purpose all the time, which is why they keep repeating the number of people who have died. Like 200,000 is a lot of people. Now, obviously, if you know somebody who died, it's gonna fucking bum you out. I mean, of course. But if you know somebody who's died from a car accident, it's gonna bum you out. If you know somebody who's died from a drug overdose, it's gonna bum you out. So the 200,000 thing is, I mean, I think it's kind of sketch. Because even though it is higher than the number of the flu, it's not exorbitantly high. Millions and millions, that starts to get to the point where our population is actually affected. Or affected to the point where future generations can feel the impact. This is not a high enough number. There's a lot to unpack there and how that works. And you would have to look at a lot of rates of death for this year and then for average years for all kinds of other things from flus and viruses, etc., as well as suicides, murders, car accidents, natural causes, relating to heart disease, relating to cancer, etc. You have to look at all that and see the total amount of people that any one of these things kills per year to start to get shit in perspective. So 200,000 people is more than A, B, and C, but it's nowhere near the same as D, E, F, and G. And they like to very rarely occasionally point out, this is more people than is killed by. And they pick one of those in the ABC. And that's the only one they go to. They don't lay out 10 different things and put corona in perspective compared to everything else, including the flu. Except sometimes they do touch on the flu just because it's less. They just pick one, right? So there's a lot to unpack there in those statements. And when Trump is talking, especially, you can tell Trump don't like to be interrupted. And I understand that the left will say this is about him being a man, mansplaining, patriarchy, etc. No, I think Trump's, because I got ADD, I think Trump's got a little ADD. Much better fucking control of it than I have. But I think that sometimes when he is trying to say something, especially when he's trying to make a more complex point, when he gets interrupted, it's hard to stay focused. And just like me, whenever I get interrupted, it's hard to continue with what I'm trying to say, especially when the other person talks for a long period of time, even if they just interrupt for a second, but especially if they go for a while, it gets hard to get back on into your place or where you're at with your conversation. So sometimes he may think in his head he's about to spit out an intelligent and eloquently worded response to something like, well, what do you have to say about 210,000? Listen, you have to understand, you put it in perspective. He's going to try to say that, but every time he just gets fucking cut off, so he has to start throwing out those bullet points. And then he sounds like he isn't compassionate, or like he's stupid, or like he doesn't care, and that's not true. Which is why he started taking to saying even one is too much, even one is too much. He keeps saying that, and I get it. And I do believe he means it. But also, he says that shit a lot because he has to. When Trump talks about coronavirus lockdowns and social distancing, this, in my opinion, is a portion of the information that he is crunching through his head. He is crunching through his head this. A, the disparity and fallout economically from being closed down for 1 month is exponential. So it's not like you close down for 1 month and you need 1 month to recover. There's a huge fucking spread there. Let's make this really simple. You're closed down for 1 month, it takes your economy 3 months to recover. That's already a disparity. Except it's an exponential disparity. So if you're closed down for 2 months, instead of it taking 6 months to recover, it actually takes 8. If you're closed down for 3 months, instead of it taking 9 or 12, it takes 15 months. So it's a huge exponential rate. So unfortunately, he is often reduced to the fucking quick shot buzz. We can't shut down the economy. And then, of course, it opens him up to the left who have more time to talk because if they don't do it live in a press conference, they just do it later in a publication saying, well, this motherfucker don't give a shit about human life. He thinks money's more important. That shouldn't surprise you. He's Donald Trump. He's a piece of shit. Now he's just showing his colors. That's not what he's saying, right? He understands all this stuff, though he tries to get it out there. A lot of businesses are unable to recover. A lot of businesses are put in a position where they're too close to their margins, and if they have to close down for a month, they can't weather it. And even though most places can float a month, their year plan can be 11 months of breaking even and 1 month of profit, and you've just fucked them hard. And if you close down for 2 or 3 months, you're putting places out of business. Now, we're seeing this everywhere. And this does tie to economics again, but just to make this understandable, Trump talks about creating jobs, which he has. People talk about losing jobs, which, of course, in the service industry, including things like tattoo parlors, hair salons, all that shit, right? Those people took a lot of hits. Those people that own their own businesses took harder hits because they're close enough on their margins where they just can't be shut down for 6 months. And since a lot of those kinds of places, they only see people on a one-on-one basis, it was even more frustrating for those places that were located in states with blue governors who just refuse to have any conversation about them taking people one at a time. It just fucked them out of a lot of money. He understands all this. So he talks about job creation. He's brought job creation. And as good as his employment numbers, they're actually better than what they look like on paper, because so many places have gone out of business that he's still managing with that to be creating jobs in industry. And I'll give you a perfect example that's more relatable. Applebee's, right, is going out of business in Wisconsin. This guy, fucking terrible timing on his part, in late 2019 bought 29 Wisconsin Applebee's. It's a franchise, right? He bought 29 of them. He's now filing for bankruptcy. Just saw this story today. Now, he owns Applebee's in other states. I don't know how many different states, and I don't know if he's filing for bankruptcy alone in Wisconsin or if he's filing his entire parent corporation because of Wisconsin and possibly other states. But this dude has got a chain restaurant and has to go out of business. Now, there's a fuck ton of people that are going to lose their jobs because of that. Cooks, dishwashers, busboys, waiters, waitresses, hosts, right? Not to mention all the suppliers that he would be buying his shit from. I don't know all the companies they buy it from, but still, a lot of economic fallout from that. If a person who owns a chain like that, who has the kind of money to even buy a chain like that, can't weather this, how do you expect somebody who has one store, one business, or maybe even 2 or 3 in a city area, how do you expect them to be able to weather it? They can't. You know, they could be 50, 60 years old. They could be younger too, but they could be, say, 50, 60 years old. They've worked their whole life, maybe worked a job for a while, started a business, put fucking blood into it, and fucking, you know, a lot of hard work. And unfortunately for them, this timing just fucked them. You know, so again, Trump says, we're creating a good economy, you're creating jobs. Sure he is. Now, they're going to talk shit about him in the press, and they say, oh yeah, but what about this? And I'm sure that somebody will touch on this Applebee's thing and say, oh, look at fucking Trump. Look at what happened in his economy. Look what happened because of him. This ain't because of him. This is because in Wisconsin, the governor has decided that he was already at 50% capacity, which he had to be court-ordered into allowing 50% with masks. Now he's at, we're going to take it down to 25%. So, I mean, if I own a bar that has a capacity of 100 people, even more so if you own a restaurant, I want 100 people in. I want 120 people in there, right? If I got 50 people in there, though, I'm happy. But if I got 10, I'm eking fucking by. Basically going between, am I going to run the joint or sell the joint every fucking day that I go to work? You're starving if that's the business ratio you're doing. But on top of already having the struggle of just being able to get people in the first place, if you're told you're only allowed to have something, that's fucking brutal. So, of course, when they talk about these things in the leftist media, they talk about these kinds of stories and they make it seem like Donald Trump's lying. Again, Trump's not lying. He's just pushed to the fucking point, and he doesn't have forever to expound upon it, every one of these things. And now, my main point, and there are other examples I can give you, okay? But let's talk about social distancing. He's been back and forth on the masks. Even now, after having had COVID, he's still like, meh, on the masks. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you a real good exercise. And I talked about this the other day in another one of my videos, COVID cage match. Go on the CDC's website, read through what they call the symptoms, and read through this is the CDC, okay? Just first let me say, I don't count the fucking left media as quality medical, and I do not count the World Health Organization. They are a global thing. They have way too many influence. I don't trust them. I do trust the CDC. All right? That's an American entity, and although people you can always make a comment about one thing they say or another, overall, they really do seem to have the health of America as the first thing that they worry about. And the CDC has said, these are the symptoms, and here's what you need as far as self-testing to determine whether or not it's serious enough that you should go to a doctor or to a hospital. And I did a video on that. Go ahead and look. Trump's comments about masks reflect what the CDC website says. The CDC website in March and April said, don't bother wearing a mask unless it's an N95 mask, because anything else doesn't really work. Please don't buy N95 masks, though, the site said, because they're needed for frontline workers. Then a few months later, I think it was Fauci who was the one that started this, and the CDC updated their website, and it said, yeah, go ahead and wear a mask, any kind of mask. Bandana, wrap around, little blue thing with the things that go around your ears. And they stopped talking about anything. Just go ahead and wear that if you want, because, the droplets. Man, my whole life, me personally, my whole fucking life, if I'm out like at a grocery store, all right, and I gotta sneeze, I don't cover my mouth, because covering your mouth don't really do shit. What I do, if I have to sneeze, is this. I always do that because that's just how you're not gross. That's just how you be not gross. My entire life. Way before fucking COVID. When I go to the gas station and get gas, and I get back in my vehicle, I use a little sanitizer, because I don't like to smell like gas. And I'll just extend that to every store that I go into. When I touch those fucking doorknobs and shit, I don't like touching that shit. I don't walk into a Target or a Walmart. Touching my car handle, meh, right? Touching the fucking door, even if it's an automatic door, you touch several things on your way in. I don't walk in there and then go right into the bathroom and put my hands on my dick. Never. If I gotta piss, first thing I do when I go in the bathroom is wash my hands before I touch my dick. It seems logical to me. Covering your fucking face with something so you don't spray everywhere, it seems logical to me. Using sanitizer, not medicinally, but on a regular basis when you're out in public, when you may have to touch yourself, scratch your ear, touch your nose, seems logical to me. But apparently a lot of fucking people are dirty, nasty motherfuckers, so they recommend these wraps and other types of masks because of the droplets. Well, what that means is, motherfucking nasty motherfucker, cover your mouth. Cover your mouth properly. That's all they do. So Trump, yeah, he ain't endorsing it because it doesn't scientifically make any sense. And he's not dumbing it down. He's not going, well, just wear your mask because you're going to... He's just telling you straight up, these are the facts. Sure, wear a mask. Who cares? Wear a mask. That's good. You might forget to cover your mouth. You might fucking touch your face before you forget to sanitize your hands after you touch something nasty like a restroom fucking door brass plate on a fucking Walmart restroom. Gross. You don't want to touch your nose or your mouth or your eyes or your fucking privates after you touch one of those unless you wash your fucking hands. You shouldn't do it anyway. And then the other part of that, he's a president, man, he gets a lot of reports. He knows how many fucking people have killed themselves due to business or due to fucking depression. He knows how a lot of people need social interaction, and if you really want to correctly unpack it and look at it unbiasedly, we'll have to go to a psychology textbook, all right? And instead of making this long where I actually go through the book and quote stuff, I can cite a source. Anybody doesn't believe me, but I'm just going to tell you, human beings are social creatures, and we actually physically need contact. Touching, hugging, it's normal. It's normal for children, it's normal for adults too. We need human contact. The less human contact you have, quite oftentimes we see, the more sick people will get. And the more extreme the mental divergences that people have in their head will get. This is all psychology. It's true. I mean, to the extent that we can know the human brain, shit's true. You should have an almost instinct level of feeling inside yourself that this is true. People need to be touched. I mean, if that wasn't true, dude, we could just masturbate. We'd never need sex. People need to be touched by other fucking people. People need fucking hugs. People need social interaction, discussion. We are social creatures. Well, Trump sums all this shit up with statements like, the cure can't be worse than the cause. Oh, you fucking murderer. You don't care about 210,000 people. I'm done with them. I'm done with all those cocksuckers. Fuck them. Trump 2020.